Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Essie Flying Solo collection. This is a very spring looking collection, but I don't think it's actually their spring collection. There are 9 polishes here altogether. The only reason I say that I don't think it's their spring collection is Essie started promoting it earlier this week. So it just seems a little bit early for spring to me. I know last year there was the Serene Slate collection, which I believe was also 9 polishes that came out around January. So I'm guessing this is like the filler January collection, but I don't know what's going through Essie's mind or the people at Essie's minds. So I'm not sure. I wouldn't count on this being the actual spring collection, but I could be wrong. So 9 polishes here altogether. Where did I find these? 88beauty.com is where I found these. So again, 9 polishes, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Free to Roam, and this is just a light pastel pink. So this one is actually surprisingly opaque for being a light pastel pink. It definitely is still a bit sheer. It does have some streaks, but it's covering fairly well for the first coat. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover pretty well on that second coat. I'm going to let it dry completely before I call it. I know I did need 3 coats when I did my swatch photos for this one, so I'm kind of expecting this second coat to dry a little bit more sheer than it is right now. So I do still have a few streaks that I want to cover up with this third coat. They're fairly minor, but just enough that they would bother me if I didn't add the third coat. And this does dry fairly shiny, but you should use top coat anyway. So that is 3 coats of Free to Roam. The next polish is called Check Your Baggage, and this is a bright sunshine yellow cream. So this one is a bit sheer and streaky on that first coat. It is a yellow. Really, though, it's not terrible. I'd say it's like about what I would expect. I'm really torn on the color of this one. Every time I look at it, it looks different. I'm pretty solid on calling it a yellow, but occasionally it will look like a very, very light yellowy orange to me. And good formula on this one. It does feel a little tiny bit thin, but not terrible. So this one does start to build up pretty well on that second coat. Just like the last polish, I did use 3 for my photos, so I'm assuming I'm going to need 3 here now, today. And there will still be some streaks showing. And this one also does seem to dry fairly shiny. Just like the last polish, this does have a few fairly minor streaks, just enough that I really want that third coat to get rid of them. I wish I had more to say about this, but I kind of got it all out in the first couple of coats. So that is 3 coats of Check Your Baggage. The next polish is called Reach New Heights, and this is a peachy color with a gold shimmer. So this one is a bit sheer on that first coat. That gold shimmer that's in there looks very smooth though. I guess there are a few brush strokes when it's wet, but I would expect those to be gone when it dries. Good formula on this one as well. Definitely a little bit thicker than the last one, which I felt was a little on the thin side. So this one does build up really nicely on that second coat. I'm going to let it dry completely just in case that second coat dries a bit more sheer than it is right now, but right now it looks pretty good. And those brush strokes that were there in that shimmer when the first coat was wet did smooth themselves out. And this does dry just a little bit dull. I'm really torn on this one. There are definitely some streaks. I do have some pretty bad ridges on my ring and pinky finger. Those have been growing in for like a year. I don't really know what's going on with that, but I tend to have more streaks in those along those ridges, so I try not to count those. But overall, I do still have some streaks, but they are very, very minor. And I'm trying to decide if I were to wear this out, if I think I would add a third coat or not, and I'm really unsure. I'm just going to call this here at 2, but just know if you are extremely picky and you do the exact same thickness of coats that I used, you might end up wanting 3. But that is 2 coats of Reach New Heights. The next polish is called One Way for One, and this is a medium pink with a pretty strong gold shimmer. So this one is pretty opaque on that first coat. It's not a one coater, but it is not sheer at all either. Even when it's wet, there really aren't many brush strokes that run throughout that gold shimmer, and once it's fully dry, you won't be able to see those at all. And good formula on this one. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and you can see that shimmer also stands out really nicely. So that is 2 coats of One Way for One. The next polish is called You Do Blue, and this is a light blue with a pink shimmer. There were a couple of Essie polishes that came to mind when I saw this one that I thought it was similar to, but I pulled those out and the blues are much darker. So the first one that I thought of was Glow with the Flow, and that is a darker blue with, I'd say the shimmer is a little bit more purple in comparison and a little bit stronger in Glow with the Flow as well. And then Beautiful Horizon, which I shook up, but not very well. That one has a totally different color of shimmer and is an even darker shade of blue. So this one is a little bit sheer on that first coat. It's not quite as opaque as the last polish was, but it's okay. There are some streaks when you first apply this, but those seem to level themselves out pretty nicely. And so far I can see that pink shimmer fairly well, and good formula on this one as well. So this one does start to build up on that second coat. The first coat dried a bit more sheer than it applied, so I'm going to let this one dry completely before I decide whether I want to do a third. I think I'm probably going to end up needing one, because even with it wet, I feel like I can still see a little bit of my nail line. And you really don't get any brush strokes through this shimmer even when it's wet. It starts out very glowy, not heavy where there would be brush strokes in it. So I am going to add a third coat. I had a little bit of nail line showing, and I also had a couple of streaks. I have a big streak on my horrible ring finger nail ridge, but I had streaks in other places as well. And this one does dry fairly shiny as well. So that is 3 coats of You Do Blue. The next polish is called Flying Solo, and this is a coral colored cream. So this one is very opaque on that first coat. I still don't think it's quite going to be a one coater, but it is very, very close. I'm going to let it dry completely, but even now I can still see some slight streaks. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. The streaks that I had on that first coat did become a little more obvious after it was fully dry. And I do also feel like this color dries a little bit darker than it applies. And it also dries shiny. So that is 2 coats of Flying Solo. The next polish is called Check In to Check Out, and this is an orange cream, but I do feel like it leans just a little bit pink. So this one is a little bit streaky on that first coat. It's just a little bit less opaque than the last color was, Flying Solo. And a good formula on this one, it does also feel just a little bit thinner than Flying Solo was. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. There were definitely some streaks, but that second coat is enough to cover those up. Hopefully you can see the huge color difference between the wet coat and the dried coat. This one definitely dries darker than it applies. Quite a bit darker, actually. So that is 2 coats of Check In to Check Out. So the next polish is called Without Reservations, and this is a darker, shimmery, reddish purple. So this one covers pretty nicely on the first coat. It's very even. It's just not quite the right color. It's a little bit light, and I can see a little bit of my nail line through it. No brush strokes through that shimmer, really, which is very nice. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. It was very even, not super sheer or anything on the first coat, just a little bit too light. And you can see that second coat does deepen the color quite a bit. So that is 2 coats of Without Reservations. And the last polish is called In Plain View, and this is a dark teal cream. So this one is extremely opaque on that first coat. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a one coater. I'm going to give it a good look when I'm done here. Okay, if all the other coats go on like that one did, then this is definitely a one coater. I'm trying to be really careful. I really don't want to get teal all over my horribly dry skin. Really good formula on this one as well, not too thick or too thin. So that is 1 coat of In Plain View. So I have 2 favorites. I really like One Way for One. Really, really nice pink, very nice, almost like pearly gold shimmer to it. And then eventually I'm gonna stop picking Essie yellows as my favorites just because they're yellow, but that day is not today. So Check Your Baggage is the other favorite of mine because it is a nice bright yellow cream. So that is the Essie Flying Solo collection. Again, I found those on 88beauty.com. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.